In the heart of the Makira Reserve, beneath the unforgiving sun and amid the whispering baobabs, something extraordinary unfolded, something that would soon become an unforgettable story. Naya, a 30-year-old matriarch known for her wisdom and quiet resilience, had just accomplished what few elephants ever do. She gave birth to triplets. Yes, 3 calves, wriggling and breathing under her heaving body, their delicate trunks seeking her warmth. But the moment wasn't without consequence. The sheer, physical toll of delivering 3 calves in the wild, without aid, without shelter, overwhelmed Nia. Her legs buckled, and she collapsed into the dry earth, unable to stand. From a distance, researchers held their breath, their binoculars trembling in disbelief and concern. An animal of her stature and experience, brought to her knees by the sheer magnitude of life she had created. Yet while Nia lay motionless and the triplets instinctively huddled close, the vast wilderness around them stirred with new tension. And then, something entirely unexpected began to shift in the shadows. Just as the researchers braced for the worst, predators lurking, the mother incapacitated, and 3 vulnerable calves, something unprecedented happened. From the dusty horizon, emerging like a living monument of strength, came Kano. No one expected him. Like most bull elephants, Kano had disappeared after the mating season, as is their nature. Male elephants rarely, if ever, involve themselves in the upbringing of their offspring. Yet here he was, his massive frame cutting through the shimmering heat waves of the Makira Reserve. His presence alone was enough to command attention and respect. He didn't charge in with brute force, nor did he trumpet to announce his arrival. Instead, Kano approached slowly, deliberately, his trunk outstretched, reaching first for Nia, then to each of his newborn calves, gently brushing their small, trembling bodies. It was as though he was counting them, acknowledging each new life in turn, confirming that they were real, his. The researchers stood frozen. This wasn't instinctual migration or chance. Kano had made a conscious return, drawn back by something more primal, more profound, perhaps even emotional. Suddenly a new danger slinked through the underbrush, a hyena, its nose twitching, sensing opportunity in the fragile scene. The animal crept closer, eyes gleaming with hunger, zeroing in on the smallest of the calves, who was still struggling to stand. But Kano didn't flinch. He didn't need to roar, didn't need to charge. Instead, he squared his massive shoulders and shifted his weight, placing himself firmly between the predator and his vulnerable family. His colossal silhouette, coupled with an unspoken authority, was enough. The hyena froze, reconsidering its odds, then retreated with a nervous glance over its shoulder. The researchers exhaled in collective disbelief. They had witnessed countless stories of nature's raw brutality, but here was a rescue not of violence, but of presence. Kano's intervention wasn't about dominance or aggression. It was about protection, responsibility, and something even more elusive, empathy. As the hyena disappeared into the distance and the sun began to lower in the sky, casting elongated shadows across the cracked earth, Kano remained beside his family, steadfast and silent. But this was only the beginning, because what he did next defied everything we thought we knew about male elephants. In the world of African elephants, the roles are ancient and immutable. Females lead the herd, nurture the young, and pass on generational wisdom, while males drift alone, living nomadic lives of solitude. That's how it has always been, until Kano. Instead of returning to the bachelor lands, where other bulls roamed freely, Kano did the unthinkable. He stayed. Day after day, as the harsh African sun beat down and the nights brought the bone-chilling cold, Kano remained at Nia's side. He became not just a silent guardian, but an active participant in the fragile early days of his calves' lives. He helped Nia clear paths through the dense brush, shielded the newborns from relentless vultures circling overhead, and even used his massive body to provide shade during the hottest hours. For the researchers, This was more than extraordinary. It was revolutionary. They meticulously documented every moment, their notes filled with phrases like unprecedented paternal behavior and possible shift in species dynamics. But science alone couldn't fully explain it. Kano wasn't driven by instinct alone. This was a choice, and the emotional resonance of that choice rippled through everyone who witnessed it. One afternoon, as a storm gathered on the horizon and the air thickened with the scent of rain, Kano did something that none of the observers would ever forget. The smallest calf, whom the researchers had nicknamed Kito, meaning precious in Swahili, had wandered too far from the protective circle of the family. A sudden crack of thunder spooked the infant, sending him stumbling toward a ravine, dangerously close to the jagged rocks below. Without hesitation, Kano surged forward, his colossal feet pounding the earth, reaching Kito just as the calf's legs gave out. With a deft, almost impossibly gentle movement, Kano wrapped his trunk around Kito's midsection and lifted him back to safety, setting him down beside Nia, who rumbled softly in thanks. It was a moment so intimate, so layered with meaning, that even the most seasoned biologists found themselves wiping away tears. Because Kano wasn't just breaking the rules of nature, he was rewriting them. And in doing so, he reminded everyone present that love, protection, and family transcend the boundaries we think exist between species, between instinct and choice, between what is expected and what is possible. But just when it seemed that this extraordinary chapter had reached its peak, nature dealt one final, devastating blow. Just as the herd seemed to find its rhythm, a fragile harmony in the unforgiving wilderness, fate intervened with cruel indifference. One morning, as the dawn's pale light broke over the savannah, the researchers noticed that Nia was lagging behind. Her steps, once steady and purposeful, now faltered with each stride. Her ears drooped, her usually sharp eyes dulled by an invisible weight. At first, they hoped it was exhaustion. After all, she had recently birthed 2 calves and had been ceaselessly protecting and nourishing them. But within days, it became devastatingly clear. Nia was gravely ill. An infection had set in, likely the result of a deep wound sustained during a confrontation with a rogue hyena pack days earlier. A battle she had won to defend her calves, but at a cost no one could have foreseen. Her body weakened rapidly, and with it, the stability of the entire family unit. In elephant societies, the matriarch is more than a leader. She is the memory, the guide, the heart. Without her strength, the herd often fractures, calves left vulnerable to predators and the merciless elements. But this is where the story, once again, defied expectations. Kano did not abandon them. As Nia struggled to keep pace, collapsing more frequently beneath the weight of her own body, Kano stepped in, not just as protector, but as surrogate matriarch. He led the herd to water sources, kept the calves close, and vigilantly patrolled the perimeter, warding off opportunistic predators who sensed weakness. The researchers were stunned. Never before had they documented a male assuming not only the protective role, but also the nurturing leadership traditionally held by a female. Yet even with Kano's unwavering strength, Nia's condition deteriorated. One harrowing night, as a blood-red moon rose over the plains, Nia lay down and could not rise. Her breathing was shallow, her usually thunderous rumbles now faint whispers in the dark. The calves huddled against her, confused and frightened, while Kano stood guard, refusing to leave her side. In that silent vigil, hours stretched into eternity. The researchers, watching from a distance, held their breath, knowing that nature's course was often ruthless, yet unable to look away from the raw, aching beauty of this scene. A dying matriarch, a defiant patriarch, and 2 young lives caught in the balance. And then, as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Nia's chest rose and did not fall again. The savannah, so often alive with sound, fell silent. But as the researchers prepared to witness the herd scatter, something astonishing happened. In the days following Nia's passing, the savannah bore witness to something few had ever imagined possible. Rather than dissolving into chaos, as so often happens when a matriarch is lost, the herd remained united, anchored not by tradition, but by choice. And at the center of this unprecedented cohesion stood Kano, the same male who, months earlier, had been a solitary wanderer, expected by nature's script to live apart from the herd, now became the unlikely guardian, guide, and even emotional center of this fragile family. He led the calves to the safest grazing grounds, ensured they drank first at the watering holes, and vigilantly shielded them from the ever-present threats of lions and poachers. But beyond these physical acts of protection, there was something even more profound unfolding. Kano was nurturing them. Researchers observed him using his trunk not only to steer the calves away from danger, but also to soothe them in moments of fear, to play, and to encourage exploration, behaviors rarely, if ever, seen from male elephants in the wild. This was not mere instinct. This was choice, an evolutionary defiance of the traditional roles assigned by biology and custom. Kano had, through grief and necessity, redefined leadership, not as dominance but as devotion, not as control, but as care. His actions sparked a wave of reflection among the researchers and conservationists observing the herd. Could it be that elephants, like humans, are capable of transcending the roles written in their DNA when love, loss, and responsibility demand it? The calves, once so dependent on their mother, now thrived under Kano's guardianship. They learned from him how to navigate rivers swollen by seasonal rains, how to identify safe feeding grounds, and perhaps most importantly, how to grieve and heal. In the months that followed, the herd attracted the attention of other elephants, drawn by the unique dynamic. Kano's family grew, not only in number, but in resilience. He had not only safeguarded Nia's legacy, but expanded it, building a living testament to the possibility that compassion and leadership can emerge from the most unexpected places. And though the plains of Africa would never again echo with Nia's commanding calls, her spirit endured in the steadfast strength of Kano, the resilience of her calves, and the silent awe of all who bore witness to this extraordinary transformation. Because in the wild, as in life, sometimes the most profound legacies are not those we plan, but those we choose, when everything we love is on the line. As we step back from this remarkable story, one truth becomes undeniably clear. The wild is not governed solely by instinct or survival, but by bonds, deep, silent, and often invisible, that transcend the rules we thought immutable. Kano's journey from solitary wanderer to devoted guardian reshapes how we understand not only elephants, but ourselves. It invites us to question the roles we assume are fixed by nature, culture, or circumstance, and to imagine who we might become when love, loss, and responsibility intersect. In a world often obsessed with strength as dominance, Kano teaches us that the greatest strength lies in care. That true leadership is not measured by control, but by the willingness to stand beside the vulnerable and protect what matters most, even when it defies every expectation. And perhaps that is the ultimate lesson from this savannah, that the legacies we leave are not written in power, but in presence, not in conquest, but in compassion. So, if this story moved you, share it. Let others know that in the wild heart of Africa, an elephant named Kano chose love over instinct, and in doing so, redefined what it means to lead. Subscribe for more true stories like this, where the untamed beauty of nature reveals the most human truths. Activate the bell so you never miss the next story that might just change the way you see the world. Comment below. What did this story awaken in you? Your voice keeps this space alive. Your engagement spreads these messages further than we can imagine. Until the next story. Stay connected to the wild, to the vulnerable, and to the extraordinary.